Welcome into Locked On Phillies. In today's episode, the Phillies add another piece to the bullpen, a big name in Craig Kimbrel, and I think the signing is a little bit better than people are giving it credit for. It's time for Locked On Phillies.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I am your host, Connor Thomas. Been talking Phillies baseball for years over on 97.5 The Fanatic on the radio, credentialed Phillies media member, TV as well for some sports talk, and happy to be here with you as your host of Locked On Phillies. I want to thank you for making Locked On Phillies your first listen every single day. And let me start by wishing everybody out there a very Merry Christmas. It's Christmas Eve as I record this. This will be my last episode before the Christmas holiday. So if you are indeed a celebrator of Christmas, Merry Christmas. Other holidays, of course, happy holidays to you as well. A great time of the year. So appreciate everything. It's a time to be thankful as well. So again, I'm going to be thankful for all the following and support you guys have given me all year long here on Locked On Phillies. Easy to do that when the team is as exciting as they are. And the Phillies made another exciting move yesterday. Well, exciting to some. The Philadelphia Phillies decided that they were going to sign free agent relief pitcher Craig Kimbrel to a one-year, $10 million deal. Now, of course, you'll remember Kimbrel. I've seen him a lot of different places. I've seen him in Boston. I've seen him in Atlanta. He's a guy that's had really, really good seasons as a closer in his career. Well, 2022 wasn't exactly one of them. And that's people's major gripe with this Craig Kimbrel deal. Maybe it's an overpay by some people's standards. And maybe it's a guy that's washed. Here's what I'll say. The Mets just threw 1 year, $10 million, the exact same contract to David Robertson, who's like 50 years old. I think he's actually 40. But Craig Kimbrel gets the same deal at 34 years old. I don't think Craig Kimbrel's career is over, even though he's been in the league since 2010. And you're looking at a situation where he's got a lot of miles on the tires. He's 11 plus years in Major League Baseball. But that's not the point, really, that people are looking at either, because 34-year-old relief pitchers, no one's complaining. Those guys are too old. The issue is last year he had a 3.75 ERA for the Los Angeles Dodgers. He did have 22 saves, but it was just not a situation where the Dodgers fans were very excited to have him. I'm already seeing a bunch of comments on the tweet from Jeff Passan announcing the deal, on the Phillies tweet about him, saying, well, enjoy him, Phillies fans. He's going to stink. This, that, and the other thing. Good riddance. Get ready for him to blow a bunch of different games. Listen, I understand what he did last year was not the best. Here's what I'll say. You just added to your bullpen a guy with a career 2.31 ERA. A guy with a total number of saves in his career. I just want to get this correct. He has 394 saves in his major league career. 4 times from 2011 to 2014. He won he didn't win, but he had the most saves in Major League Baseball. He led the league in saves. This is a guy, and I know 2014 is ancient history. I get it. Whatever. 9 years ago, who cares? This is a guy that's been there, done that. I love adding veterans to this team, especially in the bullpen, because the bullpen has the most longevity of any position. You're looking at guys that routinely pitch past 35. Like adding veterans who may seem washed at starting pitcher at like 34 or 35 or whatever can be dangerous. Adding position players that age, like they're not bringing you anything. But relief pitchers, that's the exception. You can get those guys later in their career and they can still have great seasons for you. I love the experience because I talked about it a lot with Noah Syndergaard this past year, right? Noah Syndergaard didn't look great in the regular season. He goes ahead and he gets a World Series start and he shows up. He shows up in the playoffs. He shows up for big moments because he has been there before as part of the Mets run to the World Series and the NL pennant years ago when they lost to the Kansas City Royals. I mean, you can't have enough guys that are talented, were super talented, and have that experience. And the Phillies bullpen, for all that they have going for them, Jose Alvarado, nasty. Sir Anthony Dominguez, nasty. The supporting cast, like him, like the addition of Matt Strahm, like Andrew Bellotti, like guys like that, like Bailey Falter, if he goes in the bullpen, is going to be fine. I like what they had in the bullpen already, but you think about those names. Falter, Strom, Alvarado, Dominguez, the main guys you're looking at, Bellotti. These are Brogdon. These are guys without a lot of experience in high leverage situations. They got it last year, but Craig Kimbrel's gotten it multiple years. That's never a bad addition when you go out and do that. And it's 1 year, $10 million. Who cares about the $10 million? It's John Middleton's money. There's no salary cap. It's not like signing Craig Kimbrel prevents you from adding more bullpen depth or signing other guys. Listen, if they want to spend that money, fine. And Craig Kimbrel's a guy I've mentioned multiple times because I still think the Phillies don't have an absolute set closer. Sir Anthony Dominguez could be that guy, but he wasn't consistently this past year. Not that he didn't perform consistently. They just didn't use him in that role. And I trust Rob Thompson to determine whether or not a guy's ready for actually, hey, you're our closer. I don't know if Kimbrel ends up being the closer, but I do know the Phillies didn't have one set in stone. So to bring in another guy who could compete for that role was huge as well. Guys, I need to take you back a couple years. Do you remember like Tommy Hunter? Do you remember Jared Hughes? Do you remember these guys that would come out of the Philadelphia Phillies bullpen that were an automatic 2 or 3 runs given up, could never hold a lead, were part of the worst bullpen in baseball? Those guys were on the team like 3 and 4 years ago, respectively. That's not that long of a time. And now we've got people out here complaining about Craig Kimbrel, saying that listen, it's Craig freaking Kimbrel. I know he's not mid-2010s Craig Kimbrel where he was an all-star every year and leading the league in saves every year, but this is still a guy that is talented, and you add a talented arm to your bullpen, he will fit in somewhere. They will find a way to use him. If it's a closer role, great. He tried the setup role last year in Los Angeles. It didn't go great. So I don't know if I'd use him there, but who knows how they employ him. That's for Rob Thompson and Caleb Cotham and all of those guys in the clubhouse to figure out. All I know is this is a guy that's talented enough to make a difference in a bullpen and who I feel comfortable with giving the ball to in just about any spot. He may not be as lights out as he used to be, but you're not going to put him in a situation he's never been in before. And for a relief pitcher mentally, that's a huge thing to have success in a bunch of different scenarios late in the game when there's pressure on you and everything. So, yes, again, to recap, I know the numbers aren't great from last year. Career, the numbers are still great. I mean, prior to 2022 and 2021 with 2 teams, so you had some time with the Cubs and the White Sox. You remember he did the weird Chicago flip, 2.26 ERA in 2021. That's pretty damn good. 59 2/3 innings, 2.26 ERA. Just like he was great. He's still got that in him. 1 year does not make him a terrible relief pitcher. And I don't care about the amount that you paid him because Steve Cohen has already thrown that out the window up there in New York. And the Yankees threw that out back in the day, like the Dodgers when they were building the super team they had that went to multiple World Series and won the one. I mean, guys, spending is part of baseball. There is no overpay. As long as you get a guy and your team can continue to spend money, no such thing as an overpay in Major League Baseball anymore. And Craig Kimbrel is a dude that can help you. So maybe I'll end up, if he ends up like Juris Familia, which I absolutely don't think he will because Craig Kimbrel, base level, is way better than Juris Familia. But if he does, I'll eat these words. I saw the signing. I was very excited. He was a guy I was interested in. And I was surprised there were so many negative comments about the signing that I saw on Twitter, other social media, on Instagram and everything like that. So give him a chance. And also remember how fun it is to see his set with his arm up. And when the Phillies fans were making fun of that, that's also a nice little side thing. I love bringing in guys that we used to rip because they were in the division or whatever. And they know the passion of the fan base here at Philadelphia, the creativity of the fan base here at Philadelphia. I wouldn't do that to him now that he's a member of the Philadelphia Phillies, but I'm sure that'll be another little fun side story. But Craig Kimbrel signing, good one. Another really good signing, another addition. I told you, I'm not expecting anything big, but maybe another big name or a noticeable name bullpen piece this year. And look at that. Hey, they went ahead and delivered again. Dave Dombrowski, Sam Fold, they're having a great offseason. And I think this is another signing that puts them in a really, really great spot. Now, coming up next, we're going to talk about a signing that may or may not happen after the 2023 season. There's some interesting comments by an agent. You can guess the agent, and you can guess the player currently on the Philadelphia Phillies and what it means for the potential for him to be re-signed. We'll discuss next as we continue Locked On Phillies. All right, imagine this, if you will. You're hanging out with some friends and putting back a few drinks. A few becomes a few too many. As the evening comes to an end and people start to head out, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. You can make it home okay. It's no big deal. What are the odds you're going to get pulled over anyway? And even so, what's the worst that could happen? Listen, this isn't the Twilight Zone. This is real. These things could actually happen. Your insurance goes up. You could lose your license. You could lose your job. You could total your car. You could kill someone. Everyone knows about the risks of driving drunk. The results are tragic and often deadly. However, that still doesn't stop everyone from getting behind the wheel while under the influence. That's why police officers are out there right now looking for impaired drivers on our roads to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again, play it safe, and plan ahead to get a ride. It only takes one mistake to change your life or someone else's forever. Drive sober or get pulled over. Okay, so we've got an agent meddling in some Philadelphia Phillies business. But, well, this agent kind of is Philadelphia Phillies business. Scott Boras had some comments earlier this week, about Rhys Hoskins and the future of him in Philadelphia. Because if you're not aware, I know I've talked about this multiple times, but Rhys Hoskins' contract is up at the end of the 2023 season. This will be his final season under his current contract for the Philadelphia Phillies. And for the past couple of years, he's been in arbitration. So it's not even a real contract. He's been going to arbitration and getting the money he's deserved. The Phillies have actually gotten him at a bargain price for the production that he's put together. Say what you want about his defense. I know an offensive player like Rhys Hoskins, though, would have cost you a lot more money on the open market. Well, now he's hitting the open market. And the Philadelphia Phillies have to make the tough decision of whether or not they want to pay him after the 2023 season and significantly increase their payroll at a position where some think they could do better, some think he's the best option available. I fall closer to that later camp, and depending on who's available via trade and what the free agent market truly looks like for 2023. But Scott Boras is certainly in that secondary camp. And you know what the funny thing is? Maybe this is why he's so good at his job. Scott Boras' comments had me largely agreeing with him. Let me explain basically what he said. So there was an interview with NBC 10 here in Philadelphia that Scott Boras did was while he was talking about Rhys Hoskins and getting Rhys Hoskins paid. And the gist of what he was saying was the Philadelphia Phillies should absolutely be interested in keeping Rhys Hoskins. Sure, he's the agent, but listen to the points. Points was you're looking at a guy who has great production RBI-wise. He's it could be a 30, 85, 30, 90 guy when it comes to home runs and RBIs. He's produced in big spots for this team. And one of the most interesting points by Scott Boras was that he's used to the market. One of his big selling points was it's hard to play in Philadelphia. Having guys that have already proven that they're capable of the pressure is something that Rhys Hoskins has shown, according to Scott Boras' comments. And not only do you not find a guy that is at his age that is 30, 85, 30, 90 a year, which 30 home runs, 90 RBIs a year, and you conveniently left out the amount of strikeouts and everything like that. But that's neither here nor there. No, that is here, and we'll discuss that in a second. But Scott Boras didn't mention it, and he also brought up the work ethic, all that other stuff that you'd expect when you're lauding a player that you want to get signed. My first thought is it's agent speak, and then when I think about it, I say, there are a lot of guys in this city, not just with the Phillies, with sports in general. If you follow Philadelphia sports in general, there's a bit of a theme. And it doesn't happen with everybody, but it happens enough to be noticeable, where you'll either see a guy that was really good the year before get signed by a Philadelphia team or traded for by a Philadelphia team, and they come here and they're just totally not the same player. Just look like a completely different guy than they did, I don't know, in Memphis, in Green Bay, in I don't know, let's go hockey, in Columbus or Buffalo. It's interesting. And then you'll also see guys that struggle here. Maybe they were drafted here, maybe they were picked up as a free agent and struggled here, and then go somewhere else and they succeed largely. And you wonder what's going on with Philadelphia. I do think there's some water held by the argument about Scott Boras saying, hey, Rhys Hoskins has played in Philadelphia and proven he can play here. It's not an easy place to play. I know we laud ourselves as the greatest fans in the world, and I think we are. But with that greatness comes great passion, and with that great passion sometimes comes great anger. And with that great anger comes, a lot of pressure on the people who play sports in this city, including the Philadelphia Phillies, including the first baseman of your Philadelphia Phillies, Rhys Hoskins. I'm sure he feels the pressure, but he has proven, to Scott Boras' point, that he can play through that. He can produce here. He can be a guy that is part of a World Series appearance team here. The question is, how much money is that worth to you? To John Middleton and Dave Dombrowski, that's the million-dollar question, because the production has actually been pretty consistent, right? He's a streaky hitter, but over the course of 162, he's been pretty consistently good at hitting the ball out of the yard, producing RBIs, creating opportunities to score runs. He's been pretty bad at defense, and I don't know that he's ever getting better at that, but I don't know. I get what Scott Boras is saying, and I get the inclination to want to pay Rhys Hoskins. And it's really what it's really going to come down to, because if I had to predict, I do not think there's going to be an option that you look at that's clear better out there on the open market in 2023 than Rhys Hoskins. There might be a cheaper one. There might be a better value one, but a better player, I don't think there's going to be one. And remember, I told you in the segment about Craig Kimbrel just a couple minutes ago, there is no such thing as an overpay anymore in Major League Baseball. Either you have an owner that's willing to compete and pay whatever money a player wants to bring them here, or you don't. But that's not an overpay. That's the willingness to spend money to get a player in here. No salary cap. No one seems to care about the luxury tax anymore. These owners who are at the top of the league, like John Middleton, like Steve Cohen, like others, they've decided, tax be damned, we're just going to sign whoever can compete in this arms race with the top 5 to 7 teams in baseball, which is just the growth. This is a conversation for another day, but the growth of the gap between the bottom teams in baseball and top teams in baseball just continue to divide. And something's got to happen there. There's got to be a market correction. That's an interesting conversation we'll have another day. But all of this, my point being, is there's no such thing as overpay. So who cares what Rhys Hoskins is going to command? It just matters if John Middleton and Dave Dombrowski are willing to pay him that for the production they're going to get. And as I sit here and think about the potential other options, I lean towards yes, re-sign Rhys Hoskins. I know in the past I haven't said that, but I don't know. And maybe that's why Scott Boras is such a good agent, but his words kind of convinced me. I believe in Rhys Hoskins in the city. I believe him to, over the course of a season, produce what he has in the past, and I've seen the Phillies win with that. So why not stick with the devil you know rather than the one you don't? And maybe you'll get a little bit of defense out of that guy this year, and he'll make the decision a little bit easier. Or I guess if he didn't get defense, it would make the decision a little bit easier if he was bad defensively, because then you could potentially get him for less. But anyway, the Rhys Hoskins question is going to be the biggest one of the 2023 offseason. Very interested to see how it plays out. But that was Scott Boras' thoughts, and I just wanted to share a little bit with you on what the agent had to say about his client's upcoming contract. The good news is it sounds like Scott Boras wants him to remain in Philadelphia for the right deal. So advantage Phillies to re-sign him if you believe one of the biggest, most savvy agents in all of sports, which who knows if you can or not. But that's your update on the Rhys Hoskins situation, and just a soundbite from earlier this week on the news that I thought was very interesting. Coming up next, you know what we have? We have the final night of the Philadelphia Phillies advent calendar. And then on Christmas morning, we will go ahead and reveal the final, which, well, I think you can guess who it's going to be. But we'll talk about the final Philadelphia Phillies advent calendar coming up next as we wrap up today's Locked On Phillies. Okay, there's 2 Philadelphia Phillies left that I'm going to add to the advent calendar. 2 of them. And for my money, 2 of the greats ever. For a lot of people's money, 2 of the greats ever. 1, no longer playing. 1, currently playing. Yes, they are the 2 MVPs. I'm going to read you one stat line from one season, though. And it may not be with the Phillies in the case of Bryce Harper. Of course, the two players I'm talking about that are left, Bryce Harper and Mike Schmidt. And one of them is going to be the 24th, and one of them is going to be the 25th. And you know what? Who knows who's which? But I'm going to read you a stat line from just a random season. And you're going to have to guess whether it's Mike Schmidt or Bryce Harper that I'm reading their stat line for the 24th. And then whichever one, of course, is not picked is the one that we're going to go with for the 25th for Christmas Day. Because, of course, there's a Christmas Day advent calendar. Okay. This season, this player played 145 games. 616 plate appearances, 93 runs scored, 129 hits, 21 home runs, 78 RBIs, walked 91 times, struck out 103 times. Let's see. He had 27 doubles and 2 triples. Shut off the wheels a little bit in this season. And we'll talk slash real quick. Slash 274, 393, 574. Again, you're looking at numbers like 27 doubles, 21 home runs, slashing 274, 393, 574. What season is it? Is that a Bryce Harper season? Is that a Mike Schmidt season? And remember, it doesn't have to be Bryce Harper with the Phillies. It's not just like, oh, well, I remember he hasn't done that in the past couple of years. No, I'm talking over the course of a career. I know Mike Schmidt was always here, but we're looking at the opportunity for someone to guess it. And don't cheat. Don't go to Baseball Reference and scroll through these guys' pages and try and figure it out. Let me know. And you know what's funny? Someone might even be able to tell me the year. Possible. It wasn't that long ago. Or was it? I'm playing mind games with you. Those will be our final 2 Phillies for the Advent calendar. And thank you for playing along with that all month long, leading us up to Christmas. It's been fun doing that. Fun little thing. No, we got sidetracked a couple times because of some news and some signings and everything like that. But no, that was a good time to do that. So I appreciate you playing along. That's all the time for today's Locked On Phillies. I want to thank you for making Locked On Phillies your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Then make your next listen Locked On Sports Today. Breaking news across all the sports. They've got it. The biggest breaking news is right there, available wherever you get your podcast, YouTube, Odyssey app, all that good stuff. Everywhere you find Locked On Phillies. Monday, special episode coming, by the way, a little programming note. Locked On Sports has put together a year in review of like the biggest news. So we're all posting that. Every Locked On channel is going to be posting that for Monday. So you get a chance to look at the year in review, the biggest moments and everything like that. The Phillies will certainly be on there. I mean, they went to a championship. I'm sure the Eagles will be on there. I'm sure the Sixers might make an appearance. The Flyers certainly won't be on there. Hey, maybe the MLS will pop up and the Union will be on there. There's sure to be a lot of Philly on there, though. So go ahead and check that out. Monday, that'll be our episode. And I will talk to you next time. Tuesday, let's see, December 27th would be what it is because Christmas is on a Sunday. Yeah, so 26th is Monday. 27th will be our next episode as we continue Locked On Phillies. But thank you for all your time again. Again, Merry Christmas to all who celebrate and to all, a good night. I'll talk to you next time on Locked On Phillies.